Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Life with Joe, and I know it's been a while, but I'm back with some new content for you. It's not about what I'm usually posting, it's about something entirely different and dear to me. But it took some time, but I decided that it is definitely time to share this side of my story with you. And the topic for today is finding out your child is autistic, and this is a personal experience for me. So I'll be sharing with you what happened. First of all, let me share what is autism. And this is the Autism Spectrum Disorder. And by definition, it is a neurological and developmental disorder that affects how people interact with others through their communication, learning, and behavior. I will drop down below or somewhere in my video where I got this information from, so I give credit to the persons. So I wanted to also share what happens to you as a parent when you do discover that your child is autistic. And what happened to me are these three main things that I wanted to share with you. One, self-doubt and self-blame took over. For a long time, I blamed myself for what happened for the fact that he's autistic. I said, I asked myself, what did I do wrong when I was pregnant? I was thinking back. Was I depressed? Was I this? Was I that? And I started to really blame myself. I started to doubt myself having the ability to be his mother and to be the best for him. And this is normal. It is natural for us to do this, because we want to be the best and we don't want to be the reason our child is going through any sort of pain or any sort of suffering or any sort of delays or anything that is not positive. So it is very easy to develop doubt and blame for yourself as a parent. This is something that I definitely did. Two, hurting and crying. Oh my gosh. Talk about hurt and pain. Talk about crying and bawling and talk about heartbreak. That's what I felt. I really felt like I failed. And so it was very difficult for me. I must admit, I'm smiling today, but I wasn't always smiling. So the hurt and the crying and the heartbreak is real. Coming to terms, coming to grips. I'm going to leave it at that. But that happens because you don't want to know that the worst or possibly, ridicule or misunderstanding or people looking at your kid when you go out as you see other kids with disabilities or anything different about them. As a young person, you may have looked at a child screaming, thinking this child is very loud and obnoxious in public and bad behaving, and your mother needs to bust him ass, and not understanding what that could have been. But now I think and look and observe and shut up, because you just never know. So coming to terms, big deal for me. Now, how did I find out about my son being autistic, and how did that make me feel as a parent? Lord, of course, as parents, we are very observant of our kids and what we deem as normal development throughout the different phases when your child is born. So you're looking for sitting up, crawling, walking, talking, mama, dada, all of these things, and you're hoping and praying that everything is aligned with what you've read or what you've seen, or what you've heard, that the developmental progress is supposed to be with your child. When these things are not present, of course, as a parent, especially as a mother, it makes you a little alarmed as to what is happening and what is different about your child, why these things may be missing or why these things have been delayed. Follow your intuition as a mother, as a father, as a parent or guardian, if something seems off to you, it is probably off. And so I observed my son having some delays in his verbal communication, because all of his progress was fine up to the verbal signs. He regressed a little bit. He did say the mama and the dada, but he regressed a little bit and instead started making sounds. So how did that make me feel when I found out? I found out when he was 3 plus, and I'm telling you, while I suspected it and I suspected something was off, nothing could have prepared me. No amount of reading, no amount of therapy, no amount of knowledge could have prepared me for finding out on that day. It was hard emotionally. I bawled, I cried, I questioned God why, and it felt like I failed. It felt like I failed as a mother, and it felt like I did something wrong. And it was hard to cope and to just acknowledge that this is what it is, or that's just what it is. So after finding out that your child is on the autism spectrum, what comes next? What do you do next? And here are 5 things that worked for me, and I'm recommending that will work for anyone. It's very simple. 1, come to terms with the fact that your child is on the autism spectrum. You have to just come to the reality. I know it is hard to admit. I know you may blame yourself, because of course I did. But I had to come to terms with the reality that this is what it is, and we just have to deal with it accordingly. Research so that you can understand. Nothing beats having the knowledge to understand your child and how you can help in his or her development. That's what I had to do. I had to read. I had to try to, not had to, I'm still reading and trying to understand, because as he gets older, things are changing. He's doing new things. And so I'm trying to just understand why he may or may not do some things. So research and understand is what I'd recommend. 3, learning to understand your child, because all kids and adults on the autism spectrum are different, and that's why it's a spectrum, because no 2 autistic children or adults are the same or behave the same. There may be similarities or things that they do similar, but they're never going to be doing the same things. They're never going to have the same exact signs or expect the same things. So what I would say is understand your specific child along the way of learning and developing. That's what I have to do every single day. I understand what he does, why he does it, and if ever he does something new, I'm trying to understand what he does it, why he does it, and what this means now for us, and how do I adjust. Patience. Oh my gosh, I don't know if it is back in the day when I kept asking God, can you please, I need to learn patience. I need to learn how to be patient. I remember praying that prayer so much, and God probably said, I'm going to answer your prayer, and I'm going to give you a child on the autistic spectrum, because I swear to you, patience. Kids naturally try your patience, right? And maybe in a more mischievous way, especially when they're of certain ages, when they're below 10, and definitely when they reach teenage years. But certainly you have the turbo 2s and 3s and all of those things. Your autistic child is going to test you in a different type of way. And so you have to be patient. Patience in learning and understanding is going to be key for you, mommy and daddy. And I've had to exercise so much patience in just also his development and my expectations of him. So patience, I would say, definitely. My number 5 is get support. Whether it is at home or outside, but you need to get support for understanding and for taking care of. And if it is you alone, mommy or daddy, trust me, you can do it. But reach out to people. You don't have to do it on your own. Um, Try and get as much support as you can. I'm fortunate to have my mother as a support system for me and my son, and you know, friends and my cousin, and just people who listen and understand, or may listen but not understand, but is still offering me emotional support, even if they're not able to offer physical or financial support, because you're going to need all of that support too. But don't dismay or fear. God is in control. All right. So I mentioned all the things that I experienced and I went through, um, finding out that my child is autistic, and still going through to a certain extent, not as extreme. But I wanted to mention some things that as a parent I'd want you to not do, and hoping that you watch this video and it sheds some light on if you're going through, and if you've been through, you can always let me know what you have also been through as a parent. Don't blame yourself. You did nothing wrong. You could not have changed the outcome. Everything happens for a reason. It is meant to be your child and not another child. It's meant to be yours. Don't shame your child. Don't blame them for being autistic. That's a big thing. Don't try to change them or force them into what society tells you that you need to get the child up to the speed of what everybody else is doing. It means that your child is operating within his or her own right and his or her own time. So don't try to change who he is or who she is, but accept. And acceptance for me is probably going to be the biggest thing that you could ever do for yourself and for your child to go through this journey. Acceptance. I've accepted the little quirks that my son goes through every day. I've accepted certain things that he does, and that's because of my understanding of him. I may not know everything. I'm still learning as we go along, but I accept that he learns differently. I accept that he's learning in his own time. I accept that he may do things on a different timeline from others, and that is okay, because every child is unique and they are made perfectly. And so that acceptance, you need to master that acceptance. And just love. It's just about the love that you have for your child. And that's what basically I want to share with you, what it has been for me. And feel free to share in the comments if you've had any experience with any child on the autism spectrum disorder, or if you're going through it as a mom or as a dad, or if you're unsure and you're seeing some signs that you think your child may be on the autism spectrum. But thanks so much for watching. I really enjoyed sharing this moment with you. It's really not one of my big things, but I did promise to share in my early stages. I did promise to share some information on autism and just my experiences. I may go through some more with you sometime in the future. But thanks so much for watching Life with Jo. Stay blessed and stay informed.